Hello Tubesters, it's Gav and welcome to another one of my videos. Today is an update on the Indian Mutiny project I've got. So that's 28mm Empress Miniatures from the Iron Duke range of figures. They are metal and they were originally, I contacted Mike Snook, I believe, who owns Iron Duke Miniatures, and I did ask him, I'd sent a message through on his Facebook page asking if he would be considering doing any casualty figures for these, because I think that's just what they could do with some, running and falling, that type of thing, because I like to put those, say these are going to be for me, and I'd like to sprinkle a couple into the stands that I'd be making. But he informed me that he'd sold them on a couple of years ago to Empress, and they would, obviously I'd have to contact them to ask them if they've got any ideas whether they were going to expand the range at all. So that's something I'm going to have to, when I make another purchase, I'll pop a note in saying, are you going to be doing anything more with the range? It's really comprehensive. It's just, I just think the casualties are missing from it really. I would have liked to see them, and I'd also like to see, hey, might as well ask for some more ragged looking troops. You can make them look a bit more ragged, which I'm doing, and I might even cut up some trousers and that on any figures I buy next time, just to make them a bit more beat up, because they really were, it was really harsh campaigning, and it only went on for about a year and a half, and but it was at the height of the hot season in India, and it was brutal. So it would be nice to see some more ragged looking figures, as we used to say in the army, rag order. So anyway, yeah, I've only painted 4. Don't ask for too much. I've painted 4, not been varnished yet. They're still on the bottle tops, and I've got 4 on the go. I mean, I'm literally been doing them late at night again for half an hour here and 40 minutes there, as I normally do. But I just wanted to get some underpaint, see what they look like, because you can say something looks really good as a bare metal figure, and when they've got some more paint on, I think, oh, I'm not so sure. But no, I've been quite happy with them. The couple of things, not against them, but just to look out for. I said it on the last one when we had to look at the raw figures. I should be really doing this with them in front of me, but we'll say it now. Where the muskets are close to the body, there is some infill. The bright side of that is you can get rid of it quite easy with a pin vise, with your drill bit in. You don't have to go to the trusty Dremel. It's not that hardcore. Some of it is just heavy duty flash, which literally it's not wafer thin, but it's thin enough that you put your scalpel in and it disappears. But there was 2 or 3 that if you wanted to get rid of that, rather than paint it in as a shadow area, which you can do, just put some black in, and especially with tabletop gaming, it's not going to be seen really, it'd just be a shadow. But it was infill and I wanted to get rid of it, so I just got my pin vise and chain drilled it. I think it was just 2 holes, might have been 3 on some of them, and then just obviously cut it out with a scalpel and put the file in there and smoothed it out as much as you can. But that was that. Mould lines, you're never not going to get figures obviously without mould lines, just the way they're cast. They weren't anything like Great Wall of China type size or anything. It's just that I don't know why, I just was missing some, or missing, it's just where they are. So they were actually a bit tricky on the mould lines. Not, as I say, not because the mould lines were heavy, but just finding them, because they'll always come up under primer. So I had to re-sand and then re-prime a couple, which was a bit of a pain in the bum, but that's, once you start getting to painting, you forget all that type of stuff. So let's go down to the bench and take a quick look. Just before we start, I apologise for the state of my hands. I have been stripping over the last few days some old foundry miniatures, cavalry figures. Yeah, I know this is Indian Mutiny, and these are ready to go now. But I've put them in some IPA again today, and the last bits are falling off. And of course, I've got muck everywhere. I did try and scrub my fingers before this update, but I apologise in advance. Right, let's have a look. Let's get. There are some photographs at the end. They're all with me holding them with my mucky fingers. So again, you'll have to take that with a pinch of salt type of thing. Right, I don't know if it was obviously when Mike Snoop commissioned, I think, Paul Hicks to sculpt these. The eyes, let me get any closer. The eyes are very, very small on these. What I've done is, rather than put the pupils in, I've just dabbed a bit of, I can't remember, I think it was Deck Tan in there, just to lighten them up to show that the eyes are there. You can go the other way and darken them down, which is what people tend to do. Let's get back a bit, because they always look rough when you're too close. They're all in different forms of khaki, so they can be, you know, if you're waiting to see lots of lovely red coats, you won't get these. They weren't, majority of the units, it was too hot to wear the standard issue, and it also came down to the commanding officers or the brigadier generals commanding the brigades, or the army commander, you know, what he's expecting, but usually down to the colonel commanding the regiment. Some of them, I believe, like the light infantry, it's the rifle brigade or the 60th Foot, I can't remember. I believe they did carry on wearing their green jackets through the campaign. What the 64th did, and this is a 64th figure, they wore white linen trousers and a white linen, what they call boat shirt, or smock, big baggy white shirt. Well, they soon realised, all the regiments soon realised, that they made you a decent target, which was when the khaki started coming in. They dyed them. Some dyed them in pepper, some curry powder. Was it pepper or curry powder? Sorry, and other natural dyes to get these different tones. At the base here, just because it's quite again an all khaki figure, I've tried to show a bit of roughness with some patches, not on them all, some dirt at the base, the occasional dirt on the knees, not on this one, I've just done it on the base. I've tried to show some different wear and tear on his. I do apologise if there's any noise in the background. Every time I start to make a video, all the power tools of the neighbours start going on. I've probably overkilled it a bit on the wear on the pouches, but I just fancy getting a really, you know, rough look on it. And again, you've got another pouch there. You could use some really bright material, because they were just obviously trying to keep everything together. They've almost all, well, these have all got neck cloths. It was imperative in India. Because so many lads died of sunstroke or were made really ill with it. A lot of our fugitives, that's the women and children and the civilian men that were caught up in the mutiny, they were getting massacred, and loyal sepoys that weren't mutinying, and loyal Maharajas would try and get them to safety, the British lines. A lot, though, never made it. A lot were killed. But I often read stories of a lot of people just dying of, you know, 1 minute they're walking along and next minute they collapse, and 20 minutes later they're dead, you know, just a heat stroke. I mean, all you guys, like my friends in the States, you know, all of those that like in the hot climates, you all understand all that. So yeah, it was very important to wear these neck cloths of different types, like a quilted one there, or just any type of rag, really. Sometimes as well, the puggree type thing that they wear around it was also to cushion especially when they're going into the assaults, it would help to parry sabre blows. Those tulwars, I think they're called, the native swords, and the cavalry swords of the mutinous cavalry. And there were a lot of. I mean, we're literally talking about we had the Queen's regiments, like my 64th here, We had a couple of European regiments that were owned and run by the Honourable East India Company. Now they actually ran India for the British government, and they got obviously paid for that, and or took a cut of revenues or whatever. So they actually employed white soldiers as well, Europeans, as I think he put them. I think they try and soften it up a bit there. And they would have only a few of those regiments. The rest were sepoys and salwas in the cavalry, but natives, in other words, of India. And there were thousands of them. As we took more territory, we probably, by the time of the mutiny of 1857, we probably had about 2/3 of India. And India is obviously including Pakistan and Bangladesh and all that, as it was all known as India then. And it was broken up into 3 presidencies. So you've got the Bengal presidency, which was the main one that rose up. You've got the Madras presidency and the Bombay presidency. The Bengal, if they weren't actually rising in mutiny, and there were thousands and thousands of them, some were disarmed and sent home. Some of them didn't actually go back to their home villages and join their fellow mutineers, and some did, though. Some just went home. Some were very loyal, and in small amounts they were kept on, but they just couldn't. We couldn't trust even if your regiment, your colonel said, like, well, my regiment is loyal. We just couldn't trust him, because quite often you'd be fighting a battle and then you'd be attacked at the side by the so-called loyal sepoy regiment. So most of them were disbanded in the Bengal presidency, and we relied on the sepoys of the Bombay and the Madras to fight alongside us. There were some mutinous ones in there as well, but the mutiny hadn't affected them as much, and we raised more levies from Gurkhas, more Sikhs, and Afghan mercenaries, and obviously Afghan mercenaries fought on both sides. As I say, it's very interesting. Lovely sculpts, as I say, as you expect from Paul Hicks. I've done a bit of black lining on these because I primed these in white, and I wanted this type of effect, but I've had to black line it just to show the straps off a bit better. They would normally be pipe clayed white. The straps for the cartridge box and the sling on the musket and things, but in the field they wouldn't have had time to do any of that, and it would be worn away to the natural buff type leather, and that's what I've tried to show on these. Again, I keep trying to put different colours of khaki, or my interpretation of it. Put some scratches on the cartridge case and on the I can't remember the blooming, is it ready use one, which this one doesn't have, but this guy doesn't have. He's got the older pattern musket, so he's carrying his cap box on the front of his belt, and then you'll see the other ones with the banded muskets. I believe the Enfields, they've got theirs on the later pattern on the cartridge box strap itself. But the faces are quite small, so I took a command decision and decided not to put eyes in them, which is unusual for me because I tend to put eyes in my figures. There's always a big debate. I mean, eyes. And I do agree. Eyes on figures are really for photographs. If you're gaming them and they're back down there, you don't see them. But I've just put a dab of white. Well, as I say, deck tan, just to show it's there. Now, I'd read that these were boat smocks, and whenever I've seen the few photographs I've seen, didn't realise I've seen them wearing them out of the lower down the belt, if that makes sense. So I've left this one sculpted in, so as you can see there's no shirt below that, but I'm just trying to think if I've actually produced it on any of these actually. Let me just self check. This is my other one here. As I say, I think I've gone a bit overkill on the cartridge boxes. I may overpaint them a bit and just make them not so bust up. But I was just trying to show an overall effect, if that makes sense. Now I've left these in, but I've got 4 more on the go. I'll show you in a minute, and I've painted in the smocks just using paint. But again, say cracking figures. really nice. Showed the leather there underneath. As far as I'm aware, it had just been raw leather, the buff type leather underneath the flap of the is it the expense box? I can't remember. This carries about 20 ready use rounds, as I'd call it, and then the rest of the rounds carried in the main cartridge box. But as I say, it's best to try and, if you can, mix some of the colours up a bit with and throw a few patches in, maybe anything just to break up the khaki. I've deliberately left, you can't see it here, I have actually gunged up, made it all dirty, the bag, but I've left this a white just to show a bit of difference. It probably would have been not that far off their shirts. This guy here I've got in the normal home service trousers. As I say, they went into white linen, but these would have been carried in there in the baggage. And obviously, if your other trousers are falling apart, then I would imagine you go straight to something like this to put on. So again, just dusted them up a bit. And he's got his normal cap that they would have been wearing, and he's just got like the puggree around the top of it. Very silly not having himself a neck cloth. He'll go down with that sunstroke. I have given shadows to some of the guys. I didn't with this one because I quite like the face the way it was, and it's obviously all around the musket as well. So that's that. Again, I'm throwing the odd colour in just to break up the khaki. Now, some of the regiments were known to be wearing slate grey trousers, locally procured again. This one's going to have just one slight more highlight on, so he won't have a red stripe down, because these were just locally produced trousers in a slate colour. It's probably maybe even darker than it should be, but so I'm going to probably go up another one highlight, maybe two. Again, I couldn't see that there was a shirt sticking out below there, but I've seen a lot that were. So what I've done, I'm just trying to find the ones I've... Come on, Gav, where are they? I think it's done one. Oh, this guy here. Yeah, I think that's been moulded in. I'm presuming it has, so I've painted it anyway. These are all work in progress, they've hardly been touched yet. I've got some spare paint still, so I did the soles of the boots and put some hobnails in. Just to, again, it's just that extra touch really. Just makes the figures, brings the figures along a bit more. Yeah, I know, if they're in dirt and stuff, they probably wouldn't be showing particularly, but again, it just shows. It's just that bit extra, and they're not any particular style. Just put a few dots of silver in there, and that's it. So we've got. Let's just have. We've got 20, originally I think for the value deal you get 20 figures. Oh, as we lose our back jump, you get 20 figures. I've added 2 ensigns carrying the colours, bringing us up to 22. And I've decided I'm going to have a mounted colonel or lieutenant colonel. I know the colonels. Colonel, I'm not sure about the lieutenant colonel, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's not mounted as well. And the adjutant would normally be mounted, and the colonel would be fighting both. The regiment can operate as 2 wings, as I said before, so half and half almost. The colours would normally be with the battalion, HQ element of it. But the officer tends to be, especially the colonel, he's more mounted at the rear of the regiment rather than the front. When people put him to the front, and he's at the back because he's managing the fight, if that makes sense, and he'll be running while his horse is still alive. He'll be going up and down the line, giving orders, and that's the best way for him to do it. So I'd like a mounted officer. As I think I said before, I think they're about £28 or something for a group, which I will be doing. It's a long-term project. There'll be other mounted officers to go in units, so I suppose it's not too bad. It's just it's just an expense probably I could do without really, but I would like a mounted officer in the unit, because these aren't going on single bases. They will be on, I have no idea what base sizes yet. If anybody's got any answers, please put them on the comments, because I'm not sure. I'm not really thinking 4-man bases. I'd like them to look a bit more grouped together, if that makes sense. But I'm going to add a mounted, as I say, one mounted officer, and I'd like to do it where they do the, you know, where you get these bases where they have that bit stuck out the front. I'm just wondering if you can do it stuck out the back, if that will turn it round, if that makes sense. I'm thinking maybe another drummer. This is the only problem when you can't buy singles. You have to buy packs. It's when you want to mix and match. It can be awkward, especially if you're on a budget. But probably another drummer, maybe. I like lots of different varieties, and you do get there isn't a single in that value pack. There's not a single figure that I had that was the same. I think that's brilliant. But yeah, probably not another officer. I'll look into what they've got. It won't be for a while anyway, but it's so don't expect to see this base anytime soon. It's going to take probably 2 or 3 weeks, a month, painting them on the side. As I say, half an hour, 40 minutes. At the end of the night, I just pick them up and do what I want to do on them. But yeah, we'll get there with our first regiment. As I say, they'll be flying the colours. So I'm looking at probably 24. You could always add more, but because I want to do so many of these units, I've got to be a bit, I can't be affording 34 figures and 40 odd figures. I'm looking to roughly base them on 24. I'm not that fussed if some units have got more on the bases or less. It really doesn't bother me. But I'm thinking roughly around 24 figures. So I'm looking at really, as I say, one more a mounted officer I'd like, and then it can either be a rank and file, or as in somebody in one of these poses, or another drummer, something like that. Again, an officer, but I've already now got that would be like 5 officers. So it'd be if I could find a different type of sergeant of a different pose, or or just throw another drummer in, stroke bugler. Right, that's it. Thank you very much for stopping by. There are some photographs at the end. As I say, I'm only of these 4. I'm holding them all, so unfortunately, got grubby hands all around them. But I'm just going to keep flicking these up every time I've painted a few. People seem to have some interest in the project, so if you're happy enough to follow along with it, that'd be great. As I say, it's going to take a couple of weeks or more to get these figures done without adding those extra couple of figures I mentioned. And then after that, I'm not 100% sure what unit or figure. There literally isn't going to be a rhyme or reason. You could find a mutineer battalion unit to be painted next, or you could find another British unit. It could be an elephant dragging a gun. I've got no idea. It's whatever takes me. You know me, I'm a painter, and this is a long-term project. It's gonna go on for a couple of 3 years, I'd imagine. And as I say, I've got a ton of blue foam, so I'm going to knock up a bit of terrain for it as well. So yeah, thanks for showing the interest. It is appreciated. As I say, it's not a period of history that in the UK they don't really like touching on it. None of our imperial past is taught at a lower school level. Not when I was around anyway. And if it is, it's all doom and gloom and hate yourselves type of stuff. And I don't follow that viewpoint. So it's just a period of history I'm really interested in. And Mike Snook at Iron Duke Miniatures, he does. He's doing all the slightly earlier stuff, 10 years earlier or whatever, for the campaigns in Afghanistan and the Sikh wars, and it can be used for the wars in China as well. Because I also in this, as you know, this is the 64th of Foot is part of my old regiment, and the 80th of Foot, also part of my regiment, was also there. They came a few months later, but they were in the campaigns under General Rose, was it, I think, against the famous Rani of Jhansi. So yeah, and they were conveyed, at least some of the regiment was conveyed around in baskets on the side of camels, which they have been reproduced as well, so that would be interesting. So yeah, very really interesting project, lots of variety. As I say, I can't promise you, I love my red coats, but I can't promise you many red coats in this. Probably more red coats were being worn by the enemy, but there is lots of variety. As I say, we've got elephants with guns, we've got camels with blokes in baskets. There's just such a variety you can do. So it's not all khaki. We've got some other figures to come up when I've decided which ones we're gonna purchase next at some stage. Right, there we go. I'm starting to ramble again. Look after yourselves. As I say, these got to be dipped. Where is he? There you go. These got to be dipped a second dip in the IPA. But these are, as I say, original 90s foundry figures that I bought for when I saw, as we all do. I saw the Son of the Morning Star, and as you know, I like the Old West, and I bought these in the 90s. Really badly painted. I don't even think I even tackled any mould lines. No idea. But I haven't got any Old West figures at the moment to paint, so I thought, right, I've had these for years and years. I'm going to get rid of the paint and repaint them again as part of my Old West project as well. So expect to see some of those at some stage, along with everything else. So look after yourselves, and we'll catch each other soon on another video.